Hi everyone, welcome to Dr. Harry's Healthy Corner. It's Wednesday at 7:30 and as usual it's always such a pleasure for me to be here with you. Today the topic I wanted to talk about was weight and perhaps why the number may not tell us as much as we think that it does. Oftentimes, I've been a physician for about 25 years and a little bit more, and in that time I have seen more fad diets, as my grandmother would say, than I could shake a stick at. And so I've seen many diets come and go, but the thing that remains constant is that I have seen many women and men, but primarily women, who come into my office and they're so unhappy about that number on that scale that oftentimes we have to really sit and have a long chat about perhaps why that number on that scale may be making them more unhappy than they need to be. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about weight and perhaps why the numbers on this scale does not tell us what we really need to know. So let's just dive right into that. So when we talk about weight, we sometimes are looking at the numbers on the scale to perhaps bring us a level of happiness and a level of joy that those numbers are really not capable of giving us. So we need to have a new way to look at that. So what is weight? What is weight? So in order to understand it in medicine, we have come up with this thing called the BMI, and that means body mass index. And primarily what that is a height to ratio, a height to weight ratio. And that way it assigns a number that's supposed to be even across the board. So that number ranges from underweight to obesity. So normal weight falls anything below 25, below 19 is underweight. Normal weight is up to 24.9. If you're 25 to 29.9, then that is considered overweight, medically speaking, and above 30 is considered obesity. But here's the thing, it's not all created equal. So for example, let's talk about an athlete who is about 6 feet tall and a ton of muscles, right? Because he works out. He might be a football player, or he might be somebody who just really loves to work out, and so he has a great deal amount of muscle, and so his weight is very much higher. So when we look at the BMI, he may actually have a BMI of 30 and above, and that would then put him in the range of obesity. But clearly, he would not be obese. And so that is at least part of the reasons that that BMI is perhaps not as magical a number as we would like it to be, because we often talk about obesity being risk factors for things like cancer. We talk about obesity being a risk factor for things like coronary artery disease and strokes. So we need to understand that a little bit more. So what it does not tell us, what that BMI does not tell us, it doesn't tell us about it doesn't tell us about distribution of the weight. It doesn't tell us about inflammation. It doesn't tell us about how you feel. It doesn't tell us about your energy level. It really doesn't give us a lot of information about you. So for example, a recent study says that actually, ladies, you'll be super happy about this one, that actually women with larger thighs and just less body fat in the abdomen had a significantly decreased risk of women who had larger waist size and smaller thighs, and this went for even women with normal BMIs. So you can see again where BMI may represent a problem. So again, it's about weight distribution, and it's also about excessive inflammatory fat is the primary concern with that. So what is the question that we should be asking if we are not asking about weight? What is the question that we should be asking? So the question that we should be asking is, we should be asking about health. We should be asking about energy. We should be asking about vitality. These are the questions that we should be asking. You should be asking about, well, how are you feeling? What are your moods like? How are you sleeping? So these are definitely more informative than perhaps what is your BMI. So for example, when we're talking about that, those are the questions that we should be asking. So we should be talking about, are you able to do the things that you want to do? Are you able to get up and do them? Do your joints hurt when you try to do that? And the reason that we might ask about joint pain is that did you know that for every extra pound of weight that we carry, we would put about an extra 4 pounds of weight on the knee. So if we have an extra 10 pounds of weight, then we might be putting an extra 40 pounds of weight on the knee. And so those are the type of questions that are actually helpful and informative when we do get the answers to those kind of questions, right? So what we want to do here is then talk about, these are the things that you want to do. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to talk about what are the things that you can do now about this. What are the questions that you want to ask? Well, the questions that you might want to have a discussion with if you're having weight issues with your physician, your healthcare provider, you might be talking about things like, what is the amount of inflammation that is in my body? For example, did you know that inflammation in the body can contribute to a significant amount of chronic illnesses, and that includes coronary artery disease, it includes strokes, it includes diabetes, it even includes arthritis of the joint, osteoarthritis of the joints. So there is a number that we can measure called the C-reactive protein that can give us an idea of the amount of inflammation that's going on in the body, especially in the blood vessels. Now, the higher that number is, it correlates with a higher increased risk of coronary artery disease and other inflammatory conditions. So this is a test that you can discuss with your physician, and it's an easy blood test that can be just run along with your regular blood test. So it tells us that if the things that you're doing currently, if your current lifestyle and patterns is creating inflammation in your body. And so these are the questions that you might want to ask your physician. The other thing that you might want to know about is, what is your blood sugar level? What is your insulin level? What is your blood sugar level? What is your insulin level? What is your liver function? Because all of that really plays a role in how you manage blood sugar. And how you manage inflammation, and therefore how you manage weight. So it tells you very much so, all of these numbers, what your blood pressure, all of these numbers tell you very much so how you are doing. Not necessarily the number on the scale. The number on the scale is very limited in telling you how you are doing. So these numbers gives us a better idea of that. So for example, what it might be telling us, if our energy is low, it might be saying, hey, we may not be fueling our bodies correctly. We may not be eating foods that primarily provide energy for us. So we want to be eating foods that are energy producing. So look at our diet, look at our exercise pattern. These are all things that would help to determine if we are doing things that are helpful for us. And believe it, when the body actually goes back into balance, the interesting thing that happens with that is that weight tends to follow that. Because primarily what's happening is that when we have a dysfunction in the body, weight tends to be a manifestation of that dysfunction. So what else can we talk about with weight? So we know if our energy level is down and our moods are down, it might be telling us that we're not moving enough, right? So we're not exercising enough. So again, remember, exercise doesn't have to be crazy fanatic exercise, an hour, 2 hours, or something like that. Every 10 minutes, even 10 minutes of exercise is helpful. And recent study tells us really just moving around and being active and light work. And so moving around for about 5 hours a day, that could be light gardening and light housekeeping. Just keep moving. Just avoid sitting for extended periods of time, because that can then create an issue for us. So we want to then focus on the, let's say for example, it came back that our blood pressure is high. So we want to focus on the dysfunction that's causing the high blood pressure. So what's causing the high blood pressure? Is it a fact that maybe our potassium is not balanced, right? So we know that potassium helps to balance sodium and helps to keep our blood vessels relaxed, and so help us to have normal, more normal blood pressure levels. Is it saying that maybe your zinc levels are not right? Because again, studies have shown that zinc helps us to maintain healthier blood pressure levels. So the question to ask with weight at this time is not necessarily what is the number on the scale. The question to ask is, how am I feeling? Let's start off with that. Am I doing well? Am I able to get up and do the things that I want to do? When I want to get up and go, can I get up and go? Do my joints hurt excessively? Am I excessively tired? Is my energy level low? What are my moods? Am I becoming cranky and forgetful? All these may be indications that something is not balanced in your life, and that imbalance then creates weight as a manifestation. And so when we focus obsessively on the number on the scale, we are losing sight of what the original dysfunction is. We've talked about already that sleep can create a dysfunction that can increase inflammation. We talked about inflammation actually increases your risk of obesity. Do you have toxic things in your life? For example, did you know that there's something called a BPA in plastic containers that can actually known as endocrine disruptors? And what that means, it interferes with the normal functioning of our endocrine system, and then that can contribute to weight gain and difficulty losing weight. So these are dysfunction that actually can be behind weight gain. And so the number on the scale, don't let the number on the scale distract you from what the actual dysfunction in the body is. If you're unhappy and you tend to be eating because of that, then that is something that you need to also look at. If you're not sleeping well, then that is something that needs to be evaluated, because it becomes more difficult. And when you focus obsessively on perhaps on an extremely low calorie diet or whatever the new thing is, and you're losing the fact that there's a dysfunction you're losing sight of the fact that there's a dysfunction that's causing that weight issue, then you may have real difficulty in losing the weight. And so that is primarily what I wanted to talk about today. And so if you have any questions for me, please feel free to send those questions in so we can answer those questions for you. Remember, weight is a sign of a dysfunction, and so discovering what the underlying dysfunction is, it will be important in helping you to get healthier. And we're talking about healthy, we're not talking about number on a scale, because I have seen even women who are a size 2 or a size 4, and they're simply not happy with the number on the scale. And clearly that's not what the issue, the primary issue needs to be about your health and how are you feeling, and what is your energy level like, how are you sleeping, is your lifestyle conducive to a healthier weight. So if weight may, for example, be talking about a medical condition that you may have. If you have hypothyroidism, so you need to be evaluated. Maybe your thyroid is low functioning and this is contributing to weight. So there are other issues that can contribute to weight. So hopefully this was helpful, and I want to say see you again next week on Wednesday.